Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. It's another episode. I think it's episode 3 of Two Touch, and I'm joined by Alice off the back of a Arsenal game where we were just talking off camera, saying that we should have really got a point or three. Alice, how are you feeling after that game, and generally, how are you doing?
Annoyed not to get a point because in the rare times we play well, not getting points is frustrating because I don't know when the next ones are coming. But I feel definitely a lot more confident based off the performance. I mean, Cunha, particularly in that second half, the runs he was making, he just looks, and I saw someone say it, like a Man United attacker. The way that he was just willing to get the ball and run with it and take on that responsibility, he just looks like he knows what it is to play for Manchester United. There was encouraging signs. Again, goalkeeper, midfield. We keep saying that's an issue. They were the issues. We just got to hope Ineos fix it towards the end of the window. But an upset not to get a point because we at least deserved a point out of that. But at the end of the day, it's the first game of the season, and I think all we wanted to see from that first game of the season going against Arsenal was going to be difficult was, do we see good football? Do we see Man United giving something? And we saw Man United giving something, which makes me feel more confident going into the season.
Yeah, I think when the lineups came out, I think everybody was just like, "What the hell is this lineup?" I'm not gonna lie, I thought the manager set up for a game that would expect Arsenal to dominate possession in the midfield, and that's kind of what I anticipated as well. You know, Dalot starting for me just made sense because I feel like over pre-season I've seen, and Bruno and Ahmad's going to take a little bit of time to get used to them two playing together. But I think when it comes to the attacking aspects of the game, they are so similar. So in the attacking phase, in that final third, you might get them both doing the same thing and occupying the same space. So I understood why he started Dalot. And then in the midfield, I just thought, Casemiro ahead of Ugarte just makes sense. But also, I think everyone was a bit annoyed about Kobe not coming on ahead of Ugarte. And we're going to talk about Kobe later into the video. But just as a whole, the game, I feel like Man United were hard done. I'm not gonna lie. I was talking to a lot of Arsenal fans, like my friends are Arsenal fans after the game, and they were talking about like, you know what, 3 points is 3 points. And I remember us being like that a while ago, saying, "Oh yeah, like 3 points is 3 points. It don't matter how you get it. All that matters is that you got the 3 points." But that is an Arsenal team that's in a different phase than us. You know, they're in a completely different situation than us. They're meant to be challenging for the title this season. And yeah, the first couple of games are always the bumpy ones because you're just trying to get your flow of football. You're trying to get, your team into playing football and playing together. But I definitely feel like there was positive signs. Like I get it. Man United lost against Arsenal, but I think it's not we're not being genuine to ourselves if we're genuinely saying that we got hammered or we got battered because Man United dominated possession. The only thing I will say is though that and we'll probably see it improve with the inclusion of Sesko and Cunha and Mbeumo continuing to play. For me, it's creating 20 shots on goal is not enough. I think Man United should aim to have like 50% or more on target. And then even from those on target chances, I think they should aim to have like a certain percentage being big chances or clear cut chances. Because outside of that Mbeumo header and that chance that Cunha had where he basically took a sharp turn in the box and then Raya made a great save, I can't really think of any other challenging saves that David Raya had to make. I think Patrick Dorgu had a good chance and he hit the post. But really, if I was to say to you like what attacking elements stood out for you, I think a lot of people will struggle to pick out exactly what chances on goal were the standouts for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing as well is Arsenal have had the best defensive record in the Premier League the last 3 seasons. I think like Saliba and Gabriel didn't have their best games, but this is a difficult defense to break down. There's a reason they're called Stoke as a bit of a nickname. And I think, we created a few chances, but we didn't create loads. A lot of it was sort of half chances. Like you're right with saying that. And I think I'd assume against a weaker defense, we will create more chances. I also think we just need more time to click. And, as you said, like Ahmad and Mbeumo will need more time to click. We saw elements of what Mbeumo will bring. We saw elements of what Cunha can bring. The one thing that really annoyed me was like we had loads of good crossing opportunities or putting balls in the box and no one was there. And I felt like we have a lack of bodies in the box. Sesko comes on and we stop crossing it. And I'm like, as soon as Sesko's come on, like we stop crossing it. And then like some of our decision making was annoying me. Like it was right at the end. Ugarte took a shot. And I honestly
Don't even remind me about that shot, please.
I wanted to like punch my TV. I was like, why would you shoot? But it's like it was definitely, we dominated possession. We had like the better chances, but we didn't create many clear-cut chances. We hit the post. Like Wright had to make about 3 good saves. I think the Cunha one was a good one. But it was like sometimes Cunha made a really good run and he was just knackered and he couldn't quite get the power on his shot. Same with Mbumo. It was just the lack of bodies in the box. We had a lot of the ball and we're like, it was like that final decision. We were like, do we shoot? Do we pass? Were we trying to do too much? No one was in the box. I actually felt that this would have been a game, when McTominay can just be really annoying and get in the box and score, like, Brentford, he scored too. It was one of those games that was crying out for somebody to be in the box.
Yeah, I definitely, that point you made about the box crosses or the crosses into the box. It's funny because even last season when we did it, it was always Hoyland in the box by himself, and he'd be up against like 5-6 opponents. And then I can remember Dalot putting deliveries in and Patrick Dorgu, both of them putting deliveries in, and I remember shouting at my TV saying, "There's no one in the box!" Literally, like that's all I kept saying. But you brought up Ugarte because I think there's been a big talking point after that Arsenal game about Manuel Ugarte, not just the Arsenal game. I think towards the latter stages of last season and then during preseason, Ugarte has been a hot topic. But I think that comes boxed with Kobe Mainoo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit surprised when I saw Ugarte coming on because, like I said, going into the game, I anticipated it was going to be a battle of the midfield. And when I saw Man United kind of coming out on top in a lot of the duels in the middle of the pitch, and it helped having someone like Cunha dropping in, I just didn't feel like it was a game for Ugarte. I have my opinions on Ugarte, and if you lot are new to, like, if you're a regular here on the channel, you know what I think of him. I think there are games that require a player like Ugarte's profile, but it's not often. I don't think it's often. And for him to come on in replacement of Casemiro, it shocked me a little bit. I know that Man United needed a little bit of support defensively because at that point Ahmad was quite advanced and, Patrick Dorgu was playing quite advanced and Luke Shaw was getting involved in the build-up. But I saw Ugarte dropping into that left-sided centre-back role because Luke Shaw was pushing up a little bit to support them. And I was just a little bit confused as to why the manager picked Ugarte to come on. I mean, his decision making in the game didn't even help his argument. Like if he came on and cleaned up very well, I would be quiet. I wouldn't say anything. But for me, it was the decision making. Is there was a back pass that shocked me to my core. Like there was a back pass that he played that shocked me. I thought, are we going to concede from that? And it gave me a reminder. I think it was West Ham last season, or I can't remember last season when he got bullied off the ball and he fell to his knees and then it led to a goal. But there was a back pass that he played, and my issue with Ugarte is in possession. Like most of my issue that I have with him is in possession, whether it's his passing ability or lack of passing ability. I realized as a midfielder he doesn't really scan, and that is the moment that stood out to me when he literally got the ball to his feet, didn't even look like left to right before he passed. He just played a pass, and I think it went straight to Kai Havertz. But do you think that Man United will? Because this conversation about the midfield situation, I think Bruno is part of the conversation. Like people are talking about it all the time. Ugarte is part of it. Kobe Mainoo is part of it. Do you think Man United should just cut their losses with Ugarte? Because I've yet to see 50 million worth of midfield magic.
A guy, and even when we signed him, I said, like, I get that we need him for the legs. There was a severe lack of legs in the midfield, but he's a squad player that we've spent nearly £50 million on. I think had he been like £25 million, we wouldn't really care that much. But I think it was the price, because I look at Tottenham bringing in Palhinha as a bit of a stopgap on loan for a year. And Palhinha played with Bentancur when Tottenham played PSG, and he had put in a really good performance because it was PSG were going to have the ball, and Tottenham just needed to win the ball back, be quite solid, out of possession. But like when Tottenham played Burnley at the weekend, he didn't start Palhinha. He didn't play Palhinha. He thought of Bergvall and Gray because they can keep the ball better. And that's almost the way I see Ugarte. Like, as you said, there's definitely games where you want Ugarte to start. And I know like some people in our fan base won't say that, but like there was the period when Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, Ugarte and Casemiro was the pivot. It looked quite good, like in terms of like off the ball. Obviously, there's always going to be limitations on the ball. Like I think the Manchester City game? I think he was quite good in that one. He had some good games for us. Like I felt there was a period from like October to December where Ugarte was quite good for us. Then he got injured, then it's a bit hit and miss. But when you're playing a Liverpool and when you're playing a Manchester City and you expect to have 30% possession, I think that is the game for Ugarte. Versus Arsenal, I didn't expect us to dominate the midfield like that. And that's what I would have started Ugarte over Casemiro going into the game. Once I saw the game, it was get Mainoo on. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's definitely going to be games for Ugarte. But for £50 million, you don't want him to be a player that you play in certain games, in certain situations, or if you're 2-0 up and you want to defend the lead and sit back. No, we want a player that we can rely on, like a Baleba. We know that Baleba would start pretty much every game. You know, we want that in our midfield for £50 million. And that's what annoys me with Ugarte. And I look at Ineos, and this year was about the attack. You know, our best front three a year ago was considered Rashford, Højlund, Garnacho. That was our best front three a year ago. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're done. They are finished. And now it's Cunha, Sesko and Bumo. Our best midfield, Bruno and Casemiro, I guess, but then Mainoo's so talented. For me, keep Mainoo. Casemiro replace him with Baleba. Ugarte, you may want to replace him with someone. Let's say we can't bring in Baleba this summer, looking unlikely. Can we bring in an Anagome or someone this summer? Get rid of Ugarte next summer. And then Bruno, I don't know how we'll replace Bruno. I honestly I don't think we'd get them both, but I think the best way to replace Bruno and Casemiro, if we're looking at how Amarin plays, Baleba and Wharton, but that's never going to happen in one window. But it's one of those where it's just like, maybe next year we will have to get rid of Ugarte because of the fee. But I think he has something to give, but he doesn't start 90% of games for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Kobbie Mainoo because I think the biggest conversation right now is the midfield, whether United go back for Baleba next summer or whatever. And I genuinely think this is not my thoughts, guys, i.e. what I think about Kobbie Mainoo. I think the manager, I just don't think Kobbie Mainoo is really his cup of tea for the type of midfielder that he wants. But I also don't agree with that. Because I feel like Manchester United, when you produce great talents from your academy, I think you should find a way to fit them into the team, whether it means that you have to pay, whether it means you have to play three midfielders because he's more comfortable playing in a 3-man midfield than he is in a 2-man midfield. And even this idea that he can't play in a 2-man midfield, even though he's done it for England, he's done it for Manchester United. People speak about his athleticism or, you know, his how slow he is on the pitch. I promise you, none of that matters when you are as technically gifted as Kobbie is, or any player. Like, if I was to mention any midfielder that comes from, you know, that plays at Barcelona or Real Madrid, I don't think people care about how slow they are, or, you know, how much agility they lack when they are technically gifted, because I think being a technical player outweighs all of that. I feel like football has moved into this way of athletes. We need athletes. Football is art. You express yourself based on how you play in a nice way. If you can express yourself in a good way, it don't matter if you're an athlete or not. So this idea that Kobbie Mainoo, and I see this conversation like happening a lot over the last like couple of days, especially off the back of the fact that, you know, he was again an unused sub against Arsenal. But I don't think that we should be looking at the midfield and be like, oh, but there's only 2 spaces for midfielders, and Kobbie doesn't fit into that, and he can't play in a 2-man midfield. The conversation should be Kobbie Mainoo, who's going to be the partner next to him. That, I think that should be the conversation, instead of, but like, I don't know what your thoughts are. What's your thoughts on that?
Like, my mindset is my thing I dislike the most about Amarin is this, like, you've got to make it, like, I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing with Mainoo a little bit. I'm like, we've got a generational talent in Mainoo. Like, that's not even me overhyping him, because we've overhyped academy kids. But his first season, the games versus Liverpool, Manchester City, England in the semi-final, like, we have a player that if it was at Real Madrid or Barcelona, I feel like everyone would be like, oh, I want him at my side. And this is why I was the biggest fan of Carlos Baleba, because I think he is perfect for Mainoo, because Baleba is good technically, but he's very good physically. He's got that element of Yaya Toure in a little bit, not like in the final third, but in terms of he can pick up the ball, carry it. He, like, Brighton, he covers so much ground, does so much work. And I think with Kobbie Mainoo's technicality combined with Baleba, it is perfect. And for me, Mainoo is the future. Bruno's probably going to be moved on next year. Casemiro's gone next year. Ugarte is, we spoke about Ugarte. Like, Mainoo is the future. So I'm with you on that. Like, I'm aware of the fact that Mainoo's just turned 20, so I'm not expecting him to start week in, week out. You know, he's still young. We can still definitely rotate his minutes. But I do look at it and think, if we're looking at what we want in the pivot, if we're looking at build-up issues as well, because the central centre-back stepping up and build-up, none of us like that. Mainoo is our best player in build-up. Like, without a doubt, he can. If he drops deeper and picks up the ball, he can do everything Ugarte wishes he could do. And, like, there's limitations with Mainoo off the ball. and maybe there's a concern that Mainoo and Bruno off the ball. But if you're playing a Burnley, might as well play Mainoo and Bruno in the pivot together. If we've got Burnley in a couple of games. I get not doing it against Liverpool or Arsenal, but I do think, in my opinion, Mainoo needs to be getting more minutes and be playing in that pivot more. And Bruno can always play higher up when there's injuries. Mainoo and Ugarte would work in certain games. Mainoo and Casemiro, I guess if it's less physicality, there is definitely physical concerns, but Mainoo is so technically good. We need someone that can take care of the ball, build up. That's a big issue we have. That for me, 90% of games, I do want to see Mainoo start.
Yeah. Even on the conversation of Bruno, I feel like even after the Arsenal game, the conversations about Bruno, sometimes I do wonder if everybody in the fan base watches the same game, because there was a lot of criticism for Bruno, and with Bruno, I realized people will have something to say regardless of whether the fact that he genuinely deserves the criticism or not. But I understand United's standpoint more now when I think about why they didn't sell him in the summer. Next summer the same price tag might not pop up for him, but I always say this, like, if you are going through a full culture change and you're changing so much in the team, I don't think you can get rid of your most influential player within the dressing room. I don't, and this is not me saying that like Bruno runs the dressing room, but guys, if there's so much respect for Bruno at Manchester United from the senior level to the academy all the way to just the working staff at Manchester United, there's so much respect for Bruno Fernandes that I don't think you can undergo a culture change and include Bruno as part of that. We're going to move into the new phase at Manchester United and we're going to part ways with you. I think you have to kind of phase him out. And I think that's what Man United would do. I wouldn't be surprised towards the latter stages of the season where we start seeing a midfield without Bruno Fernandes and that right offer comes, after the World Cup, and he might explore that option of leaving Manchester United. But I do think that for multiple different reasons, Manchester United have to keep Bruno for this season. Now, will we go out and sign a midfielder? I don't even know. I don't even know if we're genuinely gonna sign anyone. There's, at the time of recording, it's the 20th, so there's what, 13, 11, 12 days left of the window. You think we're gonna sign anyone? Because I don't really seem to think that we will.
I want us to sign Baleba. I don't think we will. There's links to players, but there's like links, and it's like
I thought we were linked to Rabiot. Like, when I saw Rabiot get transfer listed yesterday, I literally said to myself, let's wait how long before I start seeing the links to Manchester United. And I swear, within like 2 hours after he was put on the transfer list, there's reporters linking him to Manchester United.
It's definitely like rung Man United up. Just to let you know, I'm available for like the 4th year in a row. Like, I don't want Rabiot. He's a red flag. And also, like, I want someone that is a little bit more defensive, because right now, like, I read something by Stephen Ralston today where like Casemiro and Ugarte are seen as competing for one position, and Bruno and Mainoo are seen as competing for the other position. And I was like, well, Casemiro and Ugarte is definitely the big area that, like, we want someone that's going to be more the more defensive guy in the midfield. I just think with United, like, obviously Luciano Gomez links coming out of Spain, like a sensible, smart Baleba alternative. So probably someone going, they can't get Baleba, this is who they probably look at. I don't think there's much in the links. I like a Gomez, like, don't get me wrong, from what I've seen, I think it, if you could get it for 25 million, it could be a good deal. Like, I think he's quite good at protecting the defense. He's quite good physically, quite good at carrying. I don't know if he's as mobile as Baleba in terms of speed, but
he
looks all right. I think it's a situation of, how we brought Amrabat in, like, deadline day. I just feel like we could get a midfielder really last minute just to have another option there. And then I think the plan is Baleba 2026. I think what's putting us off going for a midfielder this summer is the Baleba funds for 2026. I feel like United have had all these conversations with Baleba, and there seems to be a lot of sources saying that Baleba wants the move, he's keen, even if it comes next year. Because I think the problem with not getting Baleba this year is, one, we need him now, but two, next year, Liverpool are going to be in for a DM, Tottenham are going to be in for a DM. I think Man United, Liverpool, Tottenham, and maybe somebody else are all going to be battling out for Baleba and Wharton. They're the two that about 5 clubs are going to be in for. So I think United are just hoping to do what they can so they win the race for Baleba in 2026, and Tottenham and Liverpool and whatnot can battle out for Wharton. I think that's United's thing. And I think United are thinking, well, Baleba is going to be expensive next year, so we don't do anything in midfield. Maybe any remaining funds go on like a Lemens, for example, and maybe we just look at, because I feel like they might want to do one more signing in like a Lemens. I think we need a midfielder. I think even if it's a stopgap, I think we need another name in there. I don't know if he's ready to take the step up to the Premier League, but Hayden Hackney was quoted at 15 million. We got Dan James for 15 million. We sold him for just under 30 million 2 years later. I think it's low risk, low wages. If he's not good enough, you could still sell him for a little bit. I do think we should bring in a low risk player. Or there's this hope, and I'm deluding myself here, that we're like not in for Baleba. So Chelsea think we've done all our transfer business, so they can't leverage anything and drag Garnacho onto deadline day. So then we're like finally, hopefully get what we want for Garnacho and then use that funds to put in a bid for Baleba afterwards. But maybe saying we're done with Baleba, so Chelsea aren't thinking, oh, they want Baleba, but you know, I don't know. But I think
that thought process I have as well. There's a part of me that thinks, ooh, maybe like the closer we come to deadline day, Man United, we might just get that David Ornstein notification of Man United have put in a bid of X amount for Baleba and talks are continuing between the teams. That's just wishful thinking. But a part of me does feel like Man United, if they don't get a Baleba and they don't sign, their second or third option, I just, logically, it wouldn't make sense to go out and spend on a midfielder if you're planning to go and sign one next summer as well. And they might just firm it basically and be like, you know what, we've got these number of players in midfield and we're just going to proceed with them. But another thing that you did touch on, which I'm sure everybody has seen over the last couple of days, is about Garnacho, and not just Garnacho, but also Sancho. Jadon Sancho, I just don't think he's gonna leave. I genuinely think. Now, before we get to Sancho, let's talk about Garnacho, because I was genuinely shocked when I saw. Firstly, Fabrizio has to be on the payroll for Garnacho, because the amount of times he tweets about him a day, he has to be on the payroll for Garnacho. But he said that he's turned down Bayern Munich in the last 48 hours, and I can't help but think like, why is this guy so hell bent on going to Chelsea? Like, what is it? Like, clearly the Chelsea fans, every Chelsea fan I speak to, do not want him at Chelsea. Sorry. So I just can't understand, because Bayern Munich are genuine contenders in Bundesliga. Like, they kind of got a monopoly over it. Champions League, they are genuine contenders. Chelsea, I still think they're good under Enzo Maresca, but I still think like they're figuring it out as they go along. So for him to turn down Bayern Munich, I was just so shocked. And it's been reported that Chelsea value him at £25 million.
First of all, the 25 million is an absolute disgrace. Honestly, I will happily have Garnacho rot until January and use him as an example, because he's on 40-50k a week. If we're going to use someone as an example, I like it to be Garnacho, because I think with Man United in the past, with Murta, Arnold, Woodward, people know deadline day, we get scared, we cave. Like, we sold Alvaro for like 4 or 5 million.
Yeah, for peanuts.
Alanga was like 15 million. Dean Henderson went for less than James Trafford, who had League One experience, and that was it at the time. You look at like some of the sales that we have done, it's been appalling. Even Sancho was an obligation to buy, but actually they could send him back, so it wasn't an obligation to buy. It's like all this stuff we've done, and I think Ineos want to be like, we're new, we're different to the old Man United regime. Yeah. You give us 50 million or he's staying in the reserves, because I'm telling you this now, Gittins was crap versus Crystal Palace. Like Gittins, don't get me wrong, has a very high ceiling, but this guy's come from the Bundesliga. He couldn't really get in Dortmund the last few months. He got 1 goal in 6 months for Dortmund, was really struggling. Do I think Gittins could become a better player than Garnacho? Yes, but is he better than Garnacho now? No, Garnacho's more ready. We know that. And I think if Gittins has another bad game versus West Ham, because Xavi Simons will more likely be a 10 at Chelsea, because he's not.
Is that Xavi Simons still happening?
I don't know, but he's not a touchline left winger like that Maresca wants. So I just look at it and I think we're in a better position than we think. Garnacho is threatening. You let me go. I'm threatening to stay if we don't let him go to Chelsea, and rejecting Bayern Munich. And I think he's ridiculous to reject Bayern Munich. But he wants to play in the World Cup. Unlike Sancho, Garnacho cares. Like, that's the reason Garnacho spoke out about Amarin. He cares. He wants to play football. He's got that ego. So my mindset is, if it gets to deadline day, we'll be just saying to him, if Chelsea want you that badly, they'll pay up.
Because I don't think he cares, actually, because didn't he say basically he's happy he'll stay in the reserves basically if he doesn't leave?
But I think that's a bluff.
You think he's trying to call United's bluff?
It's World Cup year. He wants to play for Argentina. This guy because he just missed out last time. It's World Cup year. He wants to play for Argentina. I think we can call his bluff. I honestly do. I just think he cares a lot more than Sancho. It's not like he's on ridiculous money, and like he's going to get a lot more money going to Chelsea. Bayern Munich would have probably offered him more money. And I also think with Garnacho's ego, Garnacho must see himself as a 70-80 million pound player in his head. So surely we can say to him, well, like Chelsea's offering us 30 million for you. Like, go and take it up with Chelsea, not us. Put pressure
Yeah.
on Chelsea. Because Gittins isn't good enough to get Chelsea through the season. They need someone else.
Yeah, they need another left winger for sure. The Bayern Munich thing just shocked me. I know they signed Luis Diaz, but they need depth. I think Coleman is leaving, or has he left already? He's going to Al Nassr. Gnabry, Musiala is out injured, so they need extra players in that attack.
Well.
Yeah, so it would have made, like, going to Bayern Munich for me would have been a number. But clearly he wants to, like, I put it out yesterday saying, why does he want to go to Chelsea so bad? And the theory everyone has is that he wants to score against United and celebrate.
I mean, that is, to be honest, I feel like he would. I think it's the Prem. Like, I feel like the Prem is the Super League in a weird way. Like, the money, the money the promoter clubs spend, like Sunderland, like 5th place in La Liga can't kind of spend that kind of money. Like Real Betis,
not even 3rd place. Like, I think I saw a report that said that if just based on broadcasting rights, teams that get relegated from the Premier League make more than the team that wins Bundesliga.
That's
just from broadcasting rights.
It's crazy. It's just like, I think like the Premier League is kind of the Super League. Like, you look at Real Betis, like 25 million, 30 million, they can't do it for Anthony, whereas Sunderland are like this leads to this. And I think that maybe it's he wants to be in the Premier League. Chelsea won the Club World Cup. That's where it's at. But I do think if it comes to deadline day and Man United go to Garnacho, well, you can just sit in the reserves till January and miss out on the World Cup. I do think Garnacho would start ringing up Bayern Munich. I do think he'd get scared. I think we should call his bluff, but I don't get why.
I hear it. I think United should call his bluff. But listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We've got football back again this weekend. I think we play Fulham on Sunday. Then we play Grimsby Town. Next, we play Grimsby Town in what, like the 2nd round of the Carabao? When was the last time we were in the 2nd round?
We have to play them. Like, I mentally just like didn't note that.
Yeah, so we got Grimsby Town, and then we got Burnley, and then we got 2 games back-to-back, City and then Chelsea, which will be a very interesting run of games. Listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe. Let us know down below in the comment section if you are enjoying these fortnightly videos that we're dropping here on the channel. Alice, as always, let them know where they can find you. All the links of her socials and channels are also going to be in the bio of this video.
Yeah, big up Minna. Guys, make sure you go and subscribe to Minna's channel. Yeah, it's just Alice Talks Football, Alice Talks Footy across YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok.
There you go, guys. Make sure you lot subscribe. Both of her channels, the one that's United focused and then the one that is every other Premier League team. Make sure you lot check that out. It will be in the bio of this video. But we are out. I hope you lot have a wonderful day, night, whatever time you lot are watching this. And hopefully United can get 3 points this weekend. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. Peace.